Live. Hello, everyone. It's so good to see all of you. Welcome to Meet the Humans of NextWork. Today, we're meeting someone who has had a little bit of a unconventional journey into software engineering. Someone who went from being a field manager in a cherry orchard to becoming an exceptional product engineer at NextWork. We have with us Pano. Hi, Pano. So good to have you here.
Yeah, good to be here.
Pano, for everyone who's joining and kind of new to NextWork or new to the team, would you mind giving a quick introduction about yourself, your background, and a little bit about your role at NextWork?
Yeah, for sure. So my name's Pano or Pano, I guess, depending on your accent. I'll accept either. I currently live in Auckland, New Zealand, software engineer here at NextWork. Before joining NextWork, I was working as a staff software engineer at Immutable, which was or is a blockchain-based company focused on the gaming sector. At Immutable, I was also a technical lead for one of the product teams. At NextWork, work across lots of different facets of the business, primarily shipping features, solving problems from the technical point of view, and also setting the technical direction.
Yeah, exciting. It's quick background about you. Can you tell us a little bit about like the before tech life?
Yeah, for sure. So, yeah, definitely unconventional backgrounds. I think a lot of people go through uni, very intentional software engineering related degree, and then break into the tech industry. But for me, my first job was a barista at a cafe, and eventually, just through sheer luck or accident, however you want to look at it, I ended up working in horticulture across all sorts of different things like kiwi fruit, apples, but I actually landed in cherries for quite a while, working all sorts of things. So grunt work, pre and post season, looking after crops, planting, pruning, all that kind of stuff, all the way through to actually managing a large scale cherry operation during the harvest, which was very stressful, lots of moving parts, very high stakes. That was in Canada. So I would do the season there every year for, I think it was about 4 or 5 years. And I also worked in Australia across different orchards, primarily in Tasmania, though, which is the one of the biggest cherry growing regions in Australia. Yeah,
Oh my goodness, I'm learning so much.
yeah,
Really?
very very different backgrounds. No CS degree here.
That's so awesome, because there's so many learners at NextWork who are coming into wanting to move to tech from various different backgrounds. And it's so cool because you are like you've done it. You have gone through that journey, and it'll be really cool to learn from that. I'm really looking forward to getting all that wisdom, extracting all that wisdom from you.
Yeah, for sure. And that's actually why I really love NextWork, because it resonates so well with my own journey. So yeah, definitely excited to share.
Amazing. Was there a point? I mean, so Nat had a question about how big was the team in the cherry orchard and like what makes a good cherry pano? And so, any like tidbits about that piece of that role?
Yeah, okay. So yeah, I put in the chat. So about 2,000 people across the factory in the field. Factories usually a little bit more. I was primarily in the field, kind of coordinating across the factory and what we're actually like picking and harvesting in the field. So it's like 700 to 1,000 in the field across like lots of different satellite farms and then the main farm. And what makes a good cherry? It's quite subjective, but for me, when you're in the field, when you're actually like on the farm, you get first choice of the best fruit. So unfortunately, I don't think much of it makes it to market because most of the pickers are probably taking all the good stuff.
No way. Nat says, damn, we've been getting the mid cherries.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Ah, good to know. Really cool, Pano. I'm really curious. Like that whole role seems so exciting, so interesting, and you get to eat fresh cherries all the time, the best cherries all the time, and you in Canada. What happened after that? What was the shift to software?
Yeah, great question. So I guess a bit more about my background. Like I grew up around computers. I was very fortunate in that regard, and was just very interested in tech in general. I like had made my first website when I was like 9 or 10. I think it was like my favorite cars. And yeah, so I've always been like really curious about this stuff, and um, growing up, very interested in computers, gaming, just what you could do with tech in general. At one point, convinced one of my teachers that an after-school activity instead of sport could be playing Counter-Strike with a group of people. So managed to install like bootleg copies of Counter-Strike on the school computers, and yeah, so I've always been like interested in tech. And um, when I left high school, like uh, a degree wasn't really on the radar for me. I wanted to travel a bit, and I just sort of fell into like working in hospitality and then horticulture, sort of out of necessity at the time, and it just took a backseat. And yeah, one day, I think it was yeah, one of my good friends. We were just chatting about tech stuff. Like I really been following along with blockchain and just advances in tech in general. And they suggested that I do a CS degree, and I thought, wow, that's a great idea. Except that costs a lot of money and a lot of time as well. And I sort of felt like that ship had sailed for me. So what I was really interested in is like how could I just learn this stuff without getting the degree, because these things are accessible. And so it was after like 10, 12 hour days working on the orchard, I'd open up my like really shitty laptop, could barely run Chrome, and I'd just be looking for like online coding tutorials, like trying to learn Python, or just trying to like absorb as much as I could. Um, and yeah, so I was pretty motivated at that point to make a switch, and I just heard about like a coding boot camp, and decided to go down that path.
Wow, that's so cool, Pano, um, to move into that tech space, knowing that you know it's going to take a lot of money and finding alternative ways, and then really hustling after your 10, 12 hour work. It's so I think it would resonate so much with our learners, because I think that's a lot of our community is about hustling. Like this is they're learning, they're doing extra projects after work, and it's really cool to see that um, you actually had that journey too. What did you look for in a boot camp, or in coding tutorials or courses? What did it for you?
Yeah, like again, this is why I love NextWork, right? Because when I was looking at this stuff, what I really wanted was I wanted something at the end of it, right? Like I wanted like something I could show someone or like just something I could talk about. And a lot of these coding tutorials were like web based, and you type some stuff in the browser, you follow the instructions, you type some stuff in, and then at the end of it, it's like cool, you're done, big tick, and it's just hidden, it's just like in on someone's web server somewhere, and no one can access it except you. So yeah, for me, I really wanted just like something at the end of it. And this particular boot camp, like one of the big selling points was you do a project, and at the end of the boot camp, you do this project, and you've got something to show. And I think that was a game changer for me. Yeah.
Cool. What kind of boot camp was it? What did you learn in that boot camp?
Yeah, so it was actually primarily front end focused. So the stack was React, and then we used, I think, SQLite, um, and yeah, I mean that was really the focus. I think it was 15 weeks maybe, so very short amount of time. Um, so there's not too many different technologies you can cram in into there. So fundamentals around JavaScript coding, and then into React and web frameworks.
Yeah. So 15 weeks, React, SQLite, and then how many hours a day?
Oh, so honestly, eight anywhere from 8 to 12 hours of just learning. The actual course was maybe 4 to 6 hours a day, but I sort of like took everything home and just tried to like keep going, keep learning.
Wow. What was harder than you expected about about breaking into tech, about learning outside of, the conventional route, I suppose?
Yeah, good question. So I think breaking into tech, um, you really need to sell yourself and your ambition and your drive to potential employers. And I think that's why projects are really really valuable, because it gives you something to talk about and to show. It's really hard to say to a potential employer like, no, I'm really really keen, and you've you've got nothing there, right? But by actually showing them something, yeah, it just creates that talking point, and doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to be something, right? And that's the main thing. So that was yeah, that was definitely a bit of an eye opener. I think, even from my experience now, like when I'm looking at potential hires, the ones that really stand out are the ones that have projects or things to show and talk about.
Mm. Yeah, I definitely want to know more about that because I think you've been in the hiring role. But I'm also wondering, Pano, before we get too ahead of ourselves, um, we often get the question of, do I focus on certificates? Do I focus on projects? What is better than the other? How do you weigh both? And would you be able to answer from both as an engineer and as like what you look for when you're looking for somebody to work with?
Yeah. So, from a certification point of view, I've actually done quite a lot of the learning and basically everything you need to sit the solutions architect professional certification. And I decided just not to go ahead with it, because I learned everything, and like you can talk about it at that point, and really it became a matter of okay, we can tick a box, or I can actually do something, and I can talk about that thing with all this information that I've learned along the way, right? So, for me personally, certifications, um, it really is about the learning. So I think like certs can be good depending on what employer or like particular business you're looking for. Some of them will require it, and it's really going to be on a case by case basis whether or not you pull the trigger and actually get a cert. But most of the time, like projects, they trump everything else, and you can bring something up and talk about it in an interview, or point to it and have recruiters look at it throughout the process. So yeah, that's sort of my take on those two things.
Yeah, I really appreciate that answer. And it's something that we've also come to really learn and hear about from our own learners who have done a lot of network projects and become successful because they feel more confident about building the skills that they acquire with learning, with doing the projects over um, acquiring certificates. So it's really cool to hear that from you as well. Um, but still, Pano, like making a break into tech when you know you have when you don't have that, and you talk about that the projects and putting it in your resume. Any particular projects that really caught the attention of people? And I think Nat also has a similar question. Any projects you've built that really helped you learn foundational skills and concepts?
Yeah, great question. There were quite a few along the way. I think the very first thing that I built when I was learning how to code was a calculator. And you'd be very surprised at how complex that starts to get when you start digging into it. You think, oh, just add, divide, like, basic arithmetic, right? But actually programming a calculator, it was not a simple thing as the first project. So, a lot of late nights and just yeah, banging my head against the wall trying to figure out how this stuff worked. So that was definitely an eye opener. Like, wow, okay, this is actually like kind of difficult, but a lot of fun at the same time. Like solving the problems, and each time you make a bit of progress just feels like such a massive win. So for me, that was a really good project, and I think um, I started getting addicted to that feeling of like solving a problem, no matter how big or small it was. Right, you start to like really really enjoy that feeling. And after that, built like a few smaller apps. I built like a tic-tac-toe game, and a larger project that I did was taking like a real world use case. So in Wellington, there's a an event, or there used to be. I don't know if they have it anymore. I think it was called Cuba Duper, and one of the event managers thought like for planning, they really wanted to know like where people would be. So we built this really basic app, and it tracked location for all the users, all the people within a radius, which was the event, and it would create this heat map. And so we'd be able to like show the event organizer like, oh, hey, this is where people are mostly. So maybe you need to put like water in these areas, or bathrooms, and stuff like that. So yeah, that was a lot of fun. Some database stuff in there too. Um, good intro.
Really cool. So cool, Pano, to hear about those projects all the way from like something as what we would think is simple as calculators to something as like identifying where the crowd is with a heat map. Really, really cool. So I can see like a diverse set of projects that you had. And would you put these in your resume that would then get the attention of people?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, like that was was the main reason why I was able to break into the industry, was having these projects, right? So I remember first talking to potential employer, um, talk to them about this Cuba Duper project, this event planning project, and just talking about like the flow of data and the struggles that I had and how I overcame them, how I thought about problems, and the reasoning behind some decisions, good or bad, doesn't matter. Just being able to talk about it. We had a really good conversation, and then that led to an interview. And so it's again like just having something to talk about is really valuable.
So, uh, what about like you mentioned you had something to show. Was it putting it in the resume, or did you have like a portfolio or a GitHub? What was that like?
Yeah, so at the time, it was so put the code in GitHub and then served it via GitHub Pages, I think, or back then Heroku was very popular, which is kind of like Vercel now. If you know what Vercel is, probably good comparison. So yeah, just an app deployment service. So a few of them were on Heroku, some GitHub Pages stuff as well. So I could pull it up on my phone even and be like, hey, look at what I did, you know?
Ah, that's so cool. Okay. Nice. So you were like you knew how to showcase your skills and you knew how to talk to people and like captivate their attention, which
Yeah,
is
I
super.
think it was definitely something I had to learn the hard way. So there was a lot of a lot of no's before I got a yes.
Ah, do you know how many no's?
I mean, to be honest, I started just cold emailing companies, basically begging for a job, saying, I really want to work in tech. What can I do? And most of them said, hey, really like your enthusiasm, but no. So yeah.
So yeah, being having that thick skin to send out cold emails, um, put away any ego, and just put yourself out there is key.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, when I was emailing, I really had nothing at that point. It was just like, "Hi, I like tech and I learned how to code." Like, and so that started transitioning into like, "Hey, look what I've built. Can we
Ah,
talk about this and
right,
see if I'm a good fit?" Yeah.
right. That's so cool, Pano. Thanks for sharing that. Soheb has a really great question. When you're going through the self-learning journey, I'm sure you would have had struggles and hardships. What was that like, and how did you handle that?
Yeah, that is an excellent question. So, I mean, you're always gonna run into issues. You're always gonna hit a wall. And what I learned, um, sometimes you just need a break. Just put it down, grab some water, go for a walk, have a system that allows you to reset and then come back. That to me was really valuable, because especially early on, you're gonna run into a lot of problems, and the feeling of solving a problem is incredible, but the feeling of not solving a problem can be just as low as the highest high. So it's really important to have a system that works for you, where you can reset and you can come back. And yeah, it's just important to know that it's part of the process. Because if you're not running into problems ever, you're probably doing something wrong. So it is just part of learning.
That's so powerful. If you're not running into any errors, you're probably doing something wrong.
Yeah.
It's almost counterintuitive.
Yeah.
Nice. When you look back now, is there anything you wish you had understood earlier about how careers work, about
Um, yeah, I mean, honestly, if I knew that like right out the gate projects were going to help me as much as they did, then that would have been super helpful for me. It would have saved me a lot of hurt and cold emails.
Roy has a really cool question as well. He asks, from managing a cherry orchard to becoming a product engineer, what skills or experiences did you bring over that helped you in your current role?
Oh yeah, that is an excellent question. So one thing that I learned was it doesn't really matter what industry you're in. It's all about people. So while the tech is really important, the people side of things is really just as important. Um, yeah, people are the same regardless of what industry you're in. So um, knowing how to work as a team, set expectations, and just be kind. Like it goes a really long way.
Yeah, and you managed about 2,000 people across factories, right? Like that's how big the teams were in when you were working
Yeah,
there.
well, I managed the field. We had a Paul who was managing the factory. So I think the biggest day that I had was probably between 700 and 800 people. It's a lot, you know. You learn a lot about people.
Yeah. And I really have to say, Pano, like it is such a pleasure to work with you, to see you in the team. Like what a team player you are. And if that is in any way something that you learned from before, it is like it speaks volumes. Just the way you communicate and the way you follow up and assure everyone on the team, and just that calm presence that you have. It really, I have to mention it. Like you have that very managerial, very like I got this. We're all good. Anytime, just for context to the audience, anytime I need some assistance, and I'm like, Banu, can I bother you? It's like it's always a good time, and he might be in the middle of like 100 things. But it's like it's a good time.
Yeah, what was the rule? I told Maya, it's never a good time, right? So by default, it's always a good time to interrupt. So yeah.
I love that answer. Um, I, I mean, I think it's a really nice transition into like the things you do at NextWork. What the role you play at NextWork is just it goes so unseen. It's so seen is what I'm trying to say. It is so visible. It is so we can feel it. It's very tangible. Even just yesterday, I was doing a build lab, and the copy screenshot, the paste screenshot feature was live, and like we experience it. The things you do, the engineers in our team, what you ship. Like we actually work on it and we feel it. The learners are actually experiencing it. I'd love to talk a little bit about some of the features that were shipped at NextWork. And actually, a lot of our learners talk about systems design. How do we learn systems design? How do we design a really good system? So what goes into the process of, okay, this is a feature that needs to come out. How do you start? How do you
Yeah,
build that?
great question. So uh, requirements gathering, it's not really like talked about a lot before you actually get a job, but requirements gathering is very important, right? And that comes in the form of what we call functional requirements and non-functional requirements. So functional requirements are like, how does this thing actually work? How do we expect it to work and behave? Whereas a non-functional requirement is something like, how many people are we expecting to use this thing? How many people do we need to service? Is it 1,000? Is it 10,000? Is it 1,000,000? How is this going to scale? What's the cost going to be? What's the budget? And so really digging into these requirements means that when you actually start the work, you're all aligned with what's actually going to get built, what it's going to look like, how it's going to scale. And yeah, that's sort of the first step, really, alignment and requirements gathering.
That's, I think, really well put. It's like that's the first step you mentioned, right?
Yeah.
And how do you build that muscle? How do you
Yeah.
learn to ask get good requirements,
Yeah.
well-defined?
Yeah. A lot of failed attempts, maybe, but I think once you get into the industry, you really learn a lot from the people around you. And that's why a community is so great, right? Because you don't have to learn all the same mistakes over and over and over again. You just by proxy learn these things, and the best way to do that is through other people. So community is great for that. It really is experience at the end of the day. There's no hard and fast rule. Every problem is different. Every solution is different. And so being curious and just being ready to ask a lot of questions goes a long way.
Very interesting. Experience is key, isn't it? You build that muscle. You keep asking questions. You keep sometimes failing, sometimes getting it wrong, and then you know how to ask better questions, and you know how to define those group requirements. There's a question from Sohib. How do you filter out certain functional and non-functional requirements while planning a feature?
Good question. I think it will largely depend on the feature you're building. So for example, let's say we ask the question for an API that we're building. We ask how many users are we planning, or are we expecting, and if it's in the low thousands, maybe we can filter out redundancy, or maybe we can filter out certain scaling patterns. For example, um, let's say you want to build an app and it's only for like 10 users, very small amount of users. One of the extremes is, okay, you can have like serverless functions and it can scale infinitely, or you can just put it on a really low compute EC2 instance, right? So you can go like way overboard, and it's important to know like what the target is, to help filter things out. As for functional requirements, it's really just like asking the questions, curiosity, how should this work? What's the behavior? What do users expect to see? Um, yeah, it's going to vary a lot though.
Pano, has there been a time when you gather the requirements and you predict a certain number of users using it, and it doesn't um, follow what you thought it would?
Yeah, that also a good question. I think there's you kind of want to protect against unknowns, if that makes sense. So if you going back to the example, if you ask like, oh, okay, how many users do we expect, and the answer is, oh, I don't really know, maybe 100, you kind of get an idea that maybe they're not super confident, and maybe we should build some redundancy or some scaling into the system. As an example, at my previous role, we ran an experiment, to see if users would be interested in this thing. It was basically a page where users clicked a button. Very simple. And we didn't know how many users were actually going to do it. I think the bets we had on the team was anywhere from 0 to like a few hundred, and we knew that the total kind of scope could have been in the hundreds of thousands to millions. So we built that in anyway, even though we thought maybe not a lot. And the next day, I think we woke up to like 200,000 users just clicking this button. So um, yeah, sometimes the unknowns are the scariest part, and that's where you want to start to to think about how do you protect the system and make sure you can scale.
Mm. And it feels like that's something that comes with experience, right? Being able to move that way is because you have that experience of, okay, this seems like a bit of an unknown. Let
Yes,
me navigate
yeah,
accordingly.
exactly. And the thing with system design is it's basically building blocks, right? And you can only design a system as well as the number of blocks that you have. So really what I recommend people focus on when they're trying to break into the industry is learn the blocks and then learn how they connect with each other.
Mm.
So for example, like really understanding like how queues work is great. Um, and that's just one block. And then the next step is understanding how queues can fit into a system to help with scale or replaying errors and so on.
Mm. Very cool. Pano, I'm just trying to connect that with like some of the features that we have at NextWork. So when you talk about like systems design and gathering requirements, how does like, for example, we have the ask feature, where when learners can use the ask and get all the immediate answers they want about the project, about their journey. And then you have the live documentation feature where they're filling out their tasks and they're seeing their answers and they're able to share that project anytime. And both of these features are quite different. What does that look like in terms of design, in terms of gathering requirements? Um, what, yeah, how do you compare the two features? How would you compare the two features?
Yeah, I think the overall approach is very similar, and the way I think about it is just making sure there's the shared understanding. And after that, it's really just the different components that we have and want to build with. So the complexity of them is like quite different. On one hand, you've got like a RAG engine that's got a vector database and AI integration. On the other hand, you've got a lot more front-end complexity with the live docs. Like how do you make sure that what you're typing in validations shows up, and when you save it, like it's not overriding anything else. So yeah, like very different directions, but same approach for either one. Like, and I think trying to see things from the user's perspective, how are they actually going to use this thing? How does this solve a problem for them? Um, is probably the most important thing, regardless of what it is you're building.
Cool. I know. And when I think about the ask feature, it uses RAG, like you mentioned. Um, and I imagine that's something that wasn't available to you, like that's not something you learned before you moved to the tech, right? You're doing all the projects, calculator projects, and all these. And so RAG was something probably that you learned over time, um, after you got into tech. And I guess the question I have for you is, since you're, in when you're in the tech space, you always have to keep learning. How do you keep up?
Yeah, it can be tough sometimes. There's just so much, and recognizing that you can't learn all of it is quite important. So knowing uh, knowing that you can learn and really focusing on how you learn is probably the more important skill. Um, and that's why, going back to what I was saying before, having a system that helps you reset when you're frustrated, things aren't working, is really important because it helps with that learning, right? And I think that that's more important than just trying to learn everything because there is just too much. And that's why in the industry you've got specialists, you've got back end engineers, front end engineers, system architects. There's a reason for that. It's because you can't realistically be the best at everything. So So knowing a direction that you want to go in is really important. Like if you want to be a solutions architect, there's a number of skills that you'll need to focus on first and foremost. If you want to be SRE or a backend engineer, focusing on those fundamentals first and really getting good at learning and nailing like how you learn. It's very important. And then you're ready. If something new comes out, you know you're ready for it and you can pick it up and you can roll with the punches.
So cool. I really like that. I see that you are emphasizing the need for a system to recognize that, okay, I cannot do everything all at once. And being okay with not getting everything right all the time. Juan had a question earlier. Do you feel lost at some point in your journey, and how do you manage that feeling?
Ooh, yeah. I think uh there there have definitely been times where you start to question like is this the right thing, especially early on, because like I was saying, sometimes things are just really hard and you think why why am I not getting this, like why is this not clicking, why can't I do this, maybe I can't do this, right? And um, I think having that system, pushing through, knowing that like you absolutely can do it, absolutely can do it, is really important. Um, and in the industry, like we talk about imposter syndrome a lot. That never goes away. I can tell you that now. So no matter how senior you get, imposter syndrome is just something that exists, and yeah. So having having a good system and being able to like flex your learning muscle is really important, I think.
Flex your learning muscles. Okay. Okay. And speaking of systems, Pano, do you have a system? And I won't tell you who asked this question, but do you have a system on how you organize your time when your founder keeps asking you to do side quests?
Yeah. Just do what Amber says is
Racking up those brownie points.
yeah, yeah. There we go. We got confirmation from Maximus. So yeah.
Okay, all right. Good answer. Good answer. I think everyone's agreeing. Maximus says otherwise no dinner for us.
Yeah.
We know who's the boss. um, Pano, when you think about products you've worked on, NextWork and others, what would you say is something? What makes something feel good from a user's perspective, as opposed to just like it works?
Ooh, great. So, um, I think there's a number of things. The most important one is, does this actually solve a problem that they have? Does this improve their lives? Um, and if the answer is yes, that's a really good starting point. In fact, that's where everything should start. But on top of that, I talk about picking up litter in tech. And the analogy there is when you walk past litter, you've got a choice. You can pick it up or you can ignore it.
Mm.
And it's the same when we build products. So I think it's really important that us being the NextWork team and anyone building products is actively picking up litter, because what happens is it starts small, it compounds over time, and it just leads to a really poor experience. So just little things, right? They build up, and I think that's really important to do as well. Don't let the small things slide.
Can you elaborate what you mean by litter?
Yeah, so an example could be UI inconsistencies. It could be maybe some slowness when you click a button. Maybe a modal takes a little bit too long to appear in the app. Maybe there's an error that affects a small amount of users, but not us, so we think it's all good.
Mm-hmm.
These things just they add up over time. Yeah.
Really, really cool. Yeah, Amber says I really love the picking up litter approach, and it really is a huge thing. And one example is just the copy paste of the image into the task. It's like it makes such a big difference. It really, really does, Pano. Like yesterday, I think even Sohib, who's in the audience, and Roy have been using this feature, and they just like absolutely love it. And it's only been one day, and they're just like raving about it. Like what a game changer, what a time saver.
Yeah, that's awesome to hear. That's so cool.
Roy asks, as a product engineer, how do you decide which systems, tools, frameworks, and models to use, especially when there's so many options out there? Do you have a process to filter out the noise and avoid shiny object syndrome?
Yeah. So one of the rules that I tend to follow is consistency over everything else. So there needs to be a really solid reason for introducing a new technology into a stack. So um, uh, you know, there's always new stuff coming out, and it's always better than the old stuff. But if we just decided to keep adding the new thing in, then it just becomes really cumbersome to actually build the product. And at the end of the day, the gains that you get are probably going to be marginal at best. So um, consistency is key. Having a really good reason for introducing a new technology is key. But when you're just starting out and you're trying to decide the tools and frameworks, there's a lot of considerations to make there. Even just the platform you use if you're going with cloud computing. So, do you use GCP, AWS, Azure? There's a lot of considerations there. What it comes down to is if you understand the problem space that you're in, maybe one of these tools is has slightly better features. They're all very similar nowadays anyway, so probably comes down to funding at the end of the day for a cloud platform. Who's gonna give you the biggest grant? But when it comes to more low level things like um, what front end framework, a lot of the time we think about what does the support look like for this thing? Is it actively maintained? Does it get regular updates? And also something that probably doesn't get mentioned a lot, like is it easy to hire for? Because there's a lot more React engineers than like vanilla JavaScript engineers. There's a lot more, let's say, Java engineers than there are Rust at the moment. So that does play into it a lot. Um, you can teach these skills, but a lot of the time, um, if you want to expand the pool, then picking one of these popular frameworks can factor into that as well. Um, what else? Yeah, shiny object syndrome is like a big thing. So consistency, having a very good reason for introducing something. Yeah.
That's so interesting, Pano. Like it really, like you really have to think about more beyond what is so obvious. And there's so much aspects. There's so much more like cost, budget, hiring. I didn't even think of that. Very cool. And as we talk about like shiny object syndromes and AI coming up like loud every day, there's something new. I'd love to know, what does your current workflow look like with AI in there as an engineer? How do you use it, and how has it changed?
Yeah, it's funny. It's changed pretty drastically over the last 3 to 5 years. I remember I think it was when ChatGPT became publicly available. My team was primarily using it to send funny haikus to each other. Um, but now, now it's very different. It's so deeply integrated into the way that we work, and it's really been a massive accelerator for us at NextWork. Um, but the reason that it is because we're being very specific and intentional about how we're using it. I think it's really easy to fall into a trap of just not understanding output and just blindly trusting AI to do stuff for us, which is definitely not the approach that we take. We're very intentional about it, and it is an easy trap to fall into. I see this a lot in people starting out in the industry now, like more junior engineers. Pull requests will come up and you start asking questions. Oh, why did you do this? Why did you do that? And the answer is usually, I don't really know. So I think as a tool for learning, it's really powerful. But the key thing there is learning. If you're skipping the learning part, um, it can have the opposite effect. It can be quite detrimental. So that's why something like the Ask feature is really cool. It's a learning assistant. It will help you through the journey. It will explain concepts to you in different ways to help you understand. Um, it won't just give you blind answers, and yeah, it's a very different approach.
Mm, I love that. Yeah, it's really important to utilize the tool that we have to the best way possible. And if you're using if you're using an AI tool, knowing how to best use it is a huge unlock. And which is why we have a project on prompt engineering too.
Yes.
How do you communicate to AI with AI and really use it to your advantage? And then I really appreciate what you say too about like you need to learn from it and not just blindly follow what it does, but get something out of it so that you know what's happening.
Yeah, for sure.
Um, what would you say is the future of engineering?
Ooh, future of engineering. I really think that AI will pick up steam, and uh, like we had binary, then we had things built on top of binary, so we didn't have to write binary anymore, and then we have another layer of abstraction. We've got frameworks, and nowadays when you write code, like it's a lot of it's just natural language anyway, declaring variables, and so frameworks built to help us write less code. And I really think that AI will just be another layer of abstraction. I'm actually really excited for what that looks like. But I do think that having the fundamentals down is just as important now as it's ever been. So making sure when you're learning uh, these tools, like you really understand their purpose, how they work, and how they work with other tools, be really, really important. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to the next few years in the industry, see what happens.
Yeah. What would you say to the learners who are worried that AI will replace them?
Yeah, I actually disagree. I really don't think that AI will replace people. I think it's just another tool for us to use. I think the real differentiator will be the people that learn how to integrate it into their workflows and the people who just outright refuse to learn it. I think it's not going anywhere,
Mm.
and it's only getting better. And yeah, so fundamentals will be super important, and also knowing how to integrate that into workflows. I don't think we're ever going to end up in a scenario where engineering is no longer a job, system architecture is no longer a job. There's always going to be a need for people to solve problems, because that's really what we're doing at the end of the day. We're solving problems from a technical point of view.
Yeah, very cool. Great answer. And I like, how you say we're solving problems at the end of the day, problem solvers. So there's a really good question. With the AI advancements in the tech industry, how are you using AI to enhance certain features? And maybe you can even talk about like how did it look like before AI was in the picture and how it is now?
Yeah, well, probably the biggest example of feature enhancement is the Ask feature in the app. That one's pretty exciting one, I think. Just helps you through a project and provides more learning experiences and potentials. So that's a really good example. We will likely have some more features on the way with AI. So don't want to spoil anything there, but keep your eyes peeled.
I love that. Pano, what has been one of the hardest problems you've faced in your career?
Ooh, hardest problem. Yeah, that's an interesting one. I think for me, it's probably just balancing work life. I mean, like tech, it's really easy to just get sucked in and like especially when you get stuck on problems, really hard to turn off. And you think of like 9 to 5 job, you go in, you do your thing, and then you leave. But really with tech, you're solving problems, and so you can't just turn your brain off and decide I'm not going to solve this anymore. It just keeps going. So trying to balance those things is really important. I think for me, what I've learned over time is having some non-negotiables as part of your regular life is really important. So what are the things that you do no matter what? Whether it's like exercise, going to the beach, hanging out with friends, something that's like it's your thing, and yeah, making sure you have that, you do that, and you have a good routine and habits. Very important.
Hmm. Cool. I know that at NextWork we're really big on having good systems, good personal systems, because there's so much we need to accomplish every day, and so it's really important that we're very well grounded. So appreciate that answer a lot, Pano. Have you ever had a project where things went really wrong?
Yes, absolutely. Um, yeah. So I think going back to something Azure migration. Yeah, sure. So something I said. I'll save that Azure migration for Krishna's interview. It's a good one.
Okay.
So maybe a bit of context. Before NextWork, Krishna and I actually worked together at another company. So we go quite far back, and he's got a great story to tell about our Azure migration. But for me, more recently, going back to something I said about requirements and solving a user's problem. We built this. It was like a little like teaser thing in an application where users would come in and every day they click a card, it would flip, and then they'd get a hint as to what's coming. And we put so much time into the animations and making it sparkle and the feel was like really cool, but it didn't solve any problem. And so when we released it, um, no one used it, and we turned it off a week later. So, yep,
Really?
making sure you're solving a problem is probably the most important thing in this industry for sure.
Wow. Really goes to show, like going back into requirements, and really understanding what problem you're solving, how many users are going to use it. Um, yeah. Was that a heartbreak?
It was for the team. The team was devastated. As you can imagine, you blood, sweat, and tears into something, and no one's there to enjoy it. So yeah.
Very, very interesting. Thanks for sharing that. All right, I have a little bit of rapid fire questions for you. You ready?
Let's do it.
All right, and if there's any more questions from the audience, this is the time to put it as we wrap up the session. All right, coffee, tea, or something else while
Coffee,
you
100% coffee, never anything else, not even water.
not even water. Nat says no water for you tonight, so guess you don't need it, just coffee. All right. How many cups of coffee a day?
2 minimum.
Two minimum.
Minimum.
Maximum?
Unlimited.
All right. One developer tool you could not live without right now.
Ooh, I'm gonna go with Claude Code because I'm really enjoying it.
Okay. What's your favorite thing about Cloud Code?
Honestly, at the moment, I can do multiple tasks at the same time as long as it's like clearly defined. I can be doing something and plan something in tandem, so it's quite useful.
Hmm, cool. We do have a cursor project. I mean, a Cloud Code project for anyone who's listening. One non-technical hobby that makes you better at your job.
Um, Probably going to the gym. Yeah.
What's your go-to at the gym?
My go-to at the gym is deadlifts.
Okay. Okay. Fancy. um, Pano, how many tattoos?
I don't know. Does a sleeve count as one?
Uh,
I'm gonna,
how many sittings?
how many sittings? Probably between 15 and 20.
Oh, hello.
Sorry, cat.
So between 15 and 20,
Yeah.
you've lost count. After 15, you just stopped counting.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Favorite thing about NextWork?
My favorite thing about NextWork is honestly just the fact that you get something at the end of it when you do projects. You've got portfolio that gets built while you're learning, and you've got something to show. Because I really think that is super powerful and is really the reason why I was able to break into the industry.
Hmm. That's so powerful, NextWork. That's so powerful. Oh no, I've got so many thoughts in my head. Um, very, very powerful. I really appreciate that. Like, it's the projects that make us so special. Um, Kahu has a great question. For people who are relying heavily on AI for software engineering, how do you suggest they get out of this rut?
Good question. So I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing to rely on it for software engineering. I think the main thing is being curious and understanding why it's given you what it's given you, and always questioning it. If you get output from AI and you're like, I don't know what this means, spend time figuring that out because that will go a really, really long way in your career.
That's powerful too. Any last words you'd have before we end the session for anyone who feels that they're behind, for anyone who's moving into tech from a non-technical background? Any words of like any one piece of advice you'd have?
Yeah, I felt like I was behind. I felt like it was something that was probably unachievable. But I did it anyway. And what I can tell you is it is achievable, and you absolutely can do it. Whether you're doing 2 hours a day, 3 hours a day, 12 hours a day. It doesn't matter. I think just um, thinking about the reason, your personal reason, your goals, and making sure that that's driving you. You can absolutely do it. And yeah, with something like NextWork, it just makes it even more achievable. I wish I had it when I was uh, paying money for a boot camp when I could have just used NextWork. So yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. That's so awesome. If only there was next week at that time. But look at you, Pano. You are what a hero you are. Look at where you are and what you do for us, what you do for all the learners, building this amazing, amazing app at NextWork. Um, we're so lucky to have you in the team. Absolute weapon you are.
Well,
Thank
I'm
you.
definitely lucky to be here. I think there's a few requests for the cat, so I will get her.
I know, I was going to say the demand for juniper is so high.
There you
Oh,
go.
hello.
Her name is Juniper. She sleeps on my desk all day, every day, except weekends when
And
she has the days
there's
off.
questions on whether this is nano banana.
This is in fact Nana Banana. I'm not a real person.
Juniper actually writes all of Pano's code.
Yeah, that's my secret.
Beautiful, beautiful, Juniper. Thank you for sharing. There's one question from Anonymous. Who's your favorite coworker?
I don't choose favorites, but if you know, you know.
The follow-up question is, why is it Maximus?
Yeah, no comment.
No comment. If you know, you know. Amazing, amazing. What a great session. Thank you all for tuning in and listening and for asking all the questions that you did. Such great questions, right, Pano? And so
Excellent.
much chatter in the chat going on. Man, what a
Yeah,
great session. We
that's the
learned,
vibe.
yeah, I know, right? I think we learned so much from the session, Pano. It's so relatable. I think a lot of us go through imposter syndrome, and you just saying that it never ends. So just accept it, learn
Embrace
to
it.
deal with it, have systems that work for you. And if we don't, if there's any one thing we should take away from today, is always listen to Amber, right?
Correct. Yes, back to work.
All right. Thank you all for joining. What a great session. Thanks for asking all the questions that you had. Thank you so much, Pano, for taking time from your very, very precious engineering time
Thank you.
to.
Yeah, thanks
Yeah.
everyone for joining. Appreciate it.
Right. See you all wherever you are. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night. I will see you soon. Bye.